Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Free Advice Friday. Looking forward to hanging out with you, doing this thing again, answering some questions, having some fun, drinking some Dr. Pepper, all the important things that we need to do on a Friday afternoon. So glad to be hanging out with you guys. Hopefully you've got some good questions today. Looking forward to answering them. Welcome, Angela. Welcome, Kate. The VO professional with the trademark. Look at that. That's when you know you're official, when you've got a trademark on your brand. That's how you know that you are legit. So, what are we going to do today? What are we going to talk about today on Free Advice Friday? I'll tell you one thing that I want to talk about. I really hope that you have taken some time to listen to the podcast episode that I did with NAVA. Wow. That was an insightful podcast. That was a very, very insightful podcast. And I am so grateful to Tim and Karin, not only for taking the time to come on the show, but also for the amount of work that they are doing behind the scenes, work that most of us will probably never know about or never hear about, them and their team as well. The amount of stuff that they are doing to advocate on behalf of the voiceover industry, talking to legislators and senators and congressmen and just all levels of government, participating in so many different conversations, like working with the union on some of these contracts and stuff. It's absolutely incredible what NAVA's got going on. So if you haven't done it yet, that's not the podcast. It's this one. AI Info VOs Should Know. It's right here on the YouTube channel, so you can watch the video if you would like, right here on the YouTube channel. Or, of course, the episode itself is downloadable wherever you enjoy podcasts. Just look for the Everyday VOpreneur podcast. You can search it up on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. It's on all the places. And again, watch the video version right here on the YouTube channel if you would like. But there are things about AI that should concern us, obviously. There are things about AI that concern me. But I also think that it's really important that we get an education. There's a lot of fear that is getting spread around on social media right now. A lot of that fear is not necessarily founded in fact or reality. In fact, most of that fear is probably founded in a lack of knowledge and a lack of understanding. And so I would definitely say that Tim and Karin shone a light in places where it needed to be done, particularly on the replica deal. I don't think, prior to the podcast, I don't think that I had read one positive thing about the replica deal online. But then having an opportunity to talk to Tim and Karin about it and getting their take on it, obviously being central to the conversations and whatnot, all of a sudden you start to feel a little bit differently, and you start to realize that, maybe it's not as bad as everybody thought it was, or maybe it's not as bad as perception was. But that's what happens when you read the headlines, but not the article. And so what I am encouraging you to do with this episode of the podcast is to actually read the article, so to speak. Listen to the whole show. It's an hour of your life that will definitely leave you feeling more educated, better informed, and hopefully a little bit more comfortable and confident with where things are right now. Uncle Roy, I see that you are watching, and I want you to know I've got it here today. I'm representing today. Uncle Roy and Antland Productions representing live on Free Advice Friday. It's just filled with water, just so you know. That is not vodka. But anyway, Uncle Roy sent me that for Christmas. And look, did you guys notice, it's even orange, hey? Totally custom. Beautiful. All right, guys. So what do you want to talk about today? What questions can I answer for you on Free Advice Friday? For those of you that are jumping in for the first time, maybe you've never done a Free Advice Friday before, you're not really sure what's happening. This is an opportunity for, I call it basically a free coaching session. I'm going to hang out for an hour and I'm going to answer your questions, which, otherwise I get $150 an hour to do that. And but I'm doing it right here, right now, live on the internet for free. So if you've got a voiceover business and marketing related question that you would like to ask, you can just go ahead and type that into the comments. And all I would ask, if you could just start your comment with a Q, just put a capital Q before it. That way it pops out a little bit easier for me on my screen. It's a little bit easier for me to see the questions that are coming up. But that's what I'm here for the next hour, to hang out and answer your questions. So let's do it. First question. Hey, Mark, in my cold emails, I have a link to my demos, but I'm finding it to be clicked only maybe 1 in 35 emails. My emails are about 150 words. Sounds like a poor actionable stat. Would you agree? I mean, that seems a little bit low, but what's the alternative? So I would say when you say that you have a link to your, you said you have a link to your demos. What kind of a link do you have? I only include just a straight link to my website, right? I just leave a call to action that says you can listen to my demos at marcscottvoiceover.com. So it's not a fancy link. It's not a confusing link. It's not like it's not an embedded link. I'm definitely not using embedded links. And when I say embedded links, that's the difference between if you type out marcscottvoiceover.com versus putting listen to my demos by clicking here and then making the words clicking here a URL, or, that's the embedded link. If you make the clicking here clickable, those ones are much more likely to trigger spam filters. So I would say first and foremost, what specifically are you linking to, or how are you linking to them? Does it go straight to your website? I think part of it probably has to do with your targeting as well. Not everybody's going to be interested. That's the reality of this. That's why it's a numbers game. We've got to hit more people in order to get more action. Are you giving them a very clear call to action? Are you giving them an incentive to go and listen to your demos? Or are you just saying, if you'd like to hear my demos, visit my website, which can be very passive, right? And so sometimes just the subtle difference in the language between if you'd like to hear my demos, go to marcscottvoiceover.com versus give my demos a listen at marcscottvoiceover.com. It's more of a stronger call to action. It's an instruction. We're telling them what to do, and our brains respond different ways to different language. And so that could be the one thing that I would be looking at as well. So a couple of things to consider, but make sure that it's right there and make sure that it's obvious too, because something else that I hear a lot of voice actors do is they'll say like, a link to my demos is in my signature. Well, now I got to go look for it, and I'm not going to go look for it. So, I would make sure that you're avoiding things like that as well. Sweet Baby Publishing. Hey, Mark, what's the first step to copyright your voice? This is actually a really great question, and this is something that we talked about in depth in the NAVA interview of the podcast. So make sure you go back and listen to that episode of the podcast. At this point, there really is no legislation around this. And so we're not, I don't know how you do it, because I don't even know if you can do it. Karin made a really good point that if you are a recognizable celebrity, there are, I don't want to say exceptions, but there are avenues for recognizable celebrities to be able to protect themselves. But, Joe Schmo off the street, or, a voice actor like me that nobody's ever heard of, like, not a famous voice actor, there's not the same kind of protections and same kind of opportunities in place. And so that's one of the things that NAVA's working on, is trying to create some of these protections. The best that most of us can do at this point is through the language in the contracts that we're using. So make sure that you are reading every contract that you sign. If you're sending out agreements to your clients, make sure that there's something written in the agreement that speaks to, not being allowed to use my voice for AI or things like that. NAVA has the AI writer that you can download if you've never looked at that. If you go onto the NAVA website, it's navavoices.org. And if you click synthetic AI and the AI writer, this is just a text document that you can download for free, and it includes language that protects you, or outlines that this is not to be used, or this audio is not to be used for AI, synthetic voice, et cetera, et cetera. Now, is this a guarantee? No, of course not, because at the end of the day, we got to have a way to police it. How do I know? I could send this rider to every single client. How do I know for sure that every single client, that one of them didn't use my voice for something? It's really hard to police at this point, which is, again, something else that we talked about in the podcast interview, where we've got to figure out how to put a system in place that can track this stuff as well, to make sure that not only are we protecting ourselves through the documentation, but ultimately there's a way to, police it, so to speak. But those are some of the basic steps, at least, that you and I can take now. So I would say it starts with the contracts and agreements that you're using and that you're signing, and making sure that you are including that rider. I'll append by question. Adding subtle humor to cold emails. Recommend being professional and formal on the first go or showing some personality. I know this can be subjective. I don't think there's anything wrong with showing a little bit of personality. I think, that's part of who you are. I think you have to be careful with humor because obviously not everybody is going to find the same things funny. And so, we have to be cautious about that. I am, the king of sarcasm and dry humor, and sometimes it lands and sometimes it doesn't. So I have to be very, very careful about that. So, but I do not think there's anything wrong with showing your personality in a marketing email. In fact, I encourage you to let your personality shine through, and not just in your marketing emails, but that's part of that should be part of your strategy for social media, letting your personality shine through in the way that you present yourself on social media, through the content that you share on social media, the subject matter that you talk about on social media. If every single voiceover that is out there is asking for more authentic, conversational, genuine, etc., then it stands to reason that anything that we can do to present ourselves to clients or potential clients as making us seem more authentic and genuine, I think that plays into our favor. And so, yeah, I would say there's absolutely no problem with letting your personality shine through a little bit. Genevieve says, I would love to hear how you structure your day. Oh, Genevieve, I would love to know how I structure my day as well. My days are a little bit chaotic because I never know what's going on from one day to the next with coaching sessions and voiceovers and marketing and all of those sorts of things. So I'm at a point now where, because I make myself available for coaching, and I usually do several coaching sessions in a day, sometimes anywhere from 4 to 8 coaching sessions in a day. A lot of the stuff gets planned in around that. So I may have a coaching session from 10 until 10:30. So then from 10:30 until 11, I might send some marketing emails. And then I have another coaching session from 11 until noon. And then maybe from noon until 12:30, I work on a project for a client or submit some auditions. And so it kind of stuff just gets stuck in between. My wife, for Christmas this year, she gave me the Full Focus Planner. Those of you that are familiar with me know that I've used the Clever Fox Planner for many, many years. But my wife gave me this one to try something new. And this is by Michael Hyatt. Some of you may be familiar with Michael Hyatt. I've read a bunch of his books. I've been following Michael Hyatt for many, many years. This has been helping me a lot too, because it's not, for me and where I'm at now, it's not so much about how I structure my day as much as it is about how I prioritize my to-do list, if that makes sense. And so the Full Focus Planner, it focuses on your daily big 3. What are your daily big 3? And then, you can list out all the other things that need to get done or you'd like to get done as well. But by being able to focus on my priorities, that allows me to make sure that in the midst of everything else that is going on in the course of a day, I'm still getting done the things that I need to get done. Now, that being said, are there better ways? Probably. Prior to doing the coaching, I was a big fan of time blocking. And so, from 10 till noon, every day was a marketing block in my calendar. That was when I did my marketing. And I got into I built a habit around that. And that's what allowed me to consistently be sending so many emails in an average day or in an average week, by being really intentional about that time. Even still, you can't book me for a coaching session on a Tuesday. There's no availability whatsoever in my schedule on a Tuesday, because Tuesday's my day. Tuesday is my day to work on my business. So that could mean that it's my day to work on my voiceover business, or it could be that's my day to work on my coaching business. It could be that I'm giving time to working on a new course. I'm giving time to working on episodes of the podcast. I'm giving time to working on marketing for my voiceover business or whatever. So I still do time blocking to a degree, but I really do think that a big part of time management isn't specifically in the scheduling itself as much as it is in the prioritization. I think that's really big. Luana says, Mark, I know that each email should be personalized. Any tips on how to send mass personalized emails? I've used Magical and Google Streak in the past to assist, but it still takes 15 to 20 minutes each. I guess it depends on what your definition of a mass personalized email is, because if you are using mail merge capabilities, so mail merge capabilities are giving you the ability to write a generic email in software, but using certain tags that will populate the first name or populate the company name or things of that nature. That, to me, is not a personalized email. Just because it has somebody's name in it doesn't specifically make it a personalized email. What can make a mass email a personalized email is in who you target it to. So let me give you one example of that. Let's say that you have just finished working on a brand new e-learning demo within Gangusa, and you are super excited to send that brand new e-learning demo to your clients, to let them know that it's there, to give them the ability to download it, put it on file, whatever. If you use software to send a mass email to every single one of your clients, past, present clients, with that e-learning demo, then you have just, in my opinion, sent a generic message. However, if you target only the people who are e-learning clients, so you're leaving out the commercial, you're leaving out the animation, you're leaving out the explainer, whatever. You're only targeting that e-learning demo to your e-learning clients, but sending one mass email, that becomes a more personalized message just by the nature of the content and the audience that you're targeting it to. And so that's one of the things that I would be thinking about is if you're going to write a mass email that you want to be more personalized, make sure that it's the right content for the right audience. All right, Walter says, hey, Mark, if a company has a bit of everything, you can do videos, IVR, etc., how would you reach out without overwhelming them? I primarily do character work, so they have to scroll if I link that. Okay, so if you're reaching out to a company that does a bunch of different things, I would just acknowledge that. Hey, I see that you guys do work for commercial, explainer, and corporate, and it just so happens that I am a voice actor who specializes in commercial, explainer, and corporate. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with highlighting that. I don't think you got to go into too much detail on it. I certainly wouldn't be linking them to multiple demos or anything like that. When they go to your website, they're still going to be able to figure out, provided you've got a well-designed website with the right content, the right information on it, they're still going to be able to go to your website and figure out pretty quickly who you are and what you do and what you have to offer and see all the different demos and all of that sort of stuff. Mike says, do you know any social media experts or gurus that can help with marketing on there, i.e. Heidi Dean or anything, anyone else like that? I guess it depends entirely on the platform that you're talking about. I mean, I teach a 2-hour LinkedIn masterclass that deep dives into how to use LinkedIn. And I'm actually going to be doing an updated version of that masterclass. I'm not sure if it's going to be in February or March. Keep an eye out for it, though. Lots of changes have been happening on LinkedIn. And so I'm going to be doing a big update to my Making Money with LinkedIn masterclass and teaching that class again. I know Jonathan Tilley does a fantastic job of teaching Instagram. Jonathan is a voice actor as well, and his Instagram course is amazing. And I knew he must have been doing something new because I've seen a bunch of my voiceover colleagues posting a bunch of content way more consistently than they've ever post normally in Instagram in the last couple of weeks. And then I realized it's because Jonathan started a new challenge and a new course at the beginning of January. And so everybody's following along with it. So I would say Jonathan would be a great guy to talk to for Instagram. Hunter Peterson is a YouTube guru, also a voice actor. I've had Hunter on the show. He's been on Free Advice Friday, and he's been on the podcast. So you could go back through the YouTube channel and look for our interview on the podcast. And you could also look for our Free Advice Friday live stream that we did together. And Hunter will teach you everything that you need to know about how to use YouTube. Tracy Lindley is a voice actor who teaches a LinkedIn class. So, that's another option for LinkedIn. Obviously, I'd like you to take my class, but hey, Tracy's legit and she does amazing things on LinkedIn. And so I would certainly keep an eye out for what she has to teach. So, that's part of it. It depends entirely on the social media platform that you're looking for and that you're wanting to learn a little bit more about. I would just like to point out, guys, that there is now 69 of you that are watching this live stream, but only 15 thumbs up. Come on, guys, give me the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up button for me, please. I should do a silent protest. I'm not going to answer any more questions until everybody hits the thumbs up. Actually, I'm not going to do that, but I would appreciate it if you can hit the thumbs up for me. Dion Marie says, what's the name of that planner? This is the Full Focus Planner. The Full Focus Planner from Michael Hyatt is the mastermind behind it. The trick with this planner, so with Clever Fox, you could buy a planner that was one book, one planner for the entire year. The Full Focus Planner, I don't know, this is just an example of what one day looks like. With the Full Focus Planner, you actually have to buy 4. It's quarterly. So you use a new planner every quarter. Everything kind of works together. But so far, I've been a big fan of it. There was definitely an adjustment period for me because I said I've used the Clever Fox planner for so long, but I'm really enjoying it, and I am definitely feeling like I am being more productive. Now, I also worked until 2:00 in the morning every day for last week. Because of how much I was trying to get done, like legitimately was in the office every day until 2 a.m. But part of how I was keeping everything organized and getting everything done was courtesy of the Full Focus Planner. And obviously, I would not advise everyone to consistently work until 2 a.m. every day. Find some balance in there. James says, I voiced 15 of my own novels, which led to narrating 25 plus other people's books. Nice. But now I'd like to branch into other voice work. How do I start? Okay. Well done, James. First of all, well done on all those audiobooks and getting all those titles under your belt. I would say, not knowing you and not having a conversation with you, but my first instinct would be start with a coaching session. Start with a coaching session just to see where you're at, because there's obviously differences between the audiobook read and the commercial read, or the audiobook read and the corporate read, or the audiobook read and the e-learning read. And so I would say start with a coaching session with a reputable voice coach. Uncle Roy is in the live stream right now and is absolutely a reputable coach. I have personally coached with him multiple times. He could be somebody that you have a conversation with, but start with a coaching session just to kind of get an assessment of where you're at. And that would be step 1. Once you have a better sense of where you are at, I would say step 2 would be looking at demos. Obviously you've got a great portfolio of audiobook work, which is fantastic. That will certainly help you getting more audiobooks, but it also gives you credibility because you've got credits under your belt. But if you are going to start expanding into other genres, whatever it may be, commercial, explainer, corporates, e-learnings, character, whatever, you're going to need demos to back that up. So that would be step 2. So step 1, get some coaching, find out where you're at, figure out whether you need more coaching or if you're good to go. Step 2 would be getting those demos. And then step 3 is getting the website updated to reflect the different genres of voiceover that you're able to do, capable of doing, ready to do, and then start the marketing. That maybe sounds a little bit simplistic, but honestly, that's kind of the general overview of where to go. Any Gmail tips? How do you organize Gmail? Do you have a system that you like? Any Gmail plugins that you like? Oh my gosh, my Gmail is a complete cluster fart. I'm not going to lie to you. It is. I got like a billion email messages. I do use folders a lot. So I might have. I've got I have a folder each year. So I have my 2023, my 2022, my 2021. Now I've got my 2024 folder. So all my work, specifically voiceover related emails, go into the year folder. So as I'm wrapping up projects or responding to clients, dealing with stuff like that, when that email is done, it goes into my 2024 folder because we're in 2024. Unless it was from a project from last year, in which case it might end up in the 2023 folder. I keep a separate folder for general coaching. I keep a separate folder for playbook related correspondence. I keep a separate folder for podcast related correspondence. I have folders for, like my receipts for my tax purposes. So when Adobe Audition renews, the email goes into my receipt folder. When my cell phone comes up, the email goes into my receipt folder. I don't know that I would say that stuff helps me be any more productive necessarily, as much as it just helps me try to keep my inbox as clear as humanly possible. But even as I'm saying it helps me to keep my inbox as clear as humanly possible, right now, my primary inbox still has 2,276 emails in it. It's embarrassing. Like, email feels like an avalanche to me that I am completely buried under and not sure if I will ever get out from underneath of it. But I certainly do try. But hey, if there are any Gmail gurus or experts out there, I would love to hear if you've got some tips and tricks that you're using as well. Angela says, how long do you wait to follow up with a prospect you've spoken to and they've asked you to send your website link for more information? So if I'm reaching out to somebody and they respond back positively, they ask for my website or they ask for my demos, et cetera, I want to try to keep that conversation going as long as possible. So don't be afraid to ask questions, inquire with them. See if you can get them to talk a little bit more about their work or a little bit more about their process or, a little bit more about what projects they may be working on or what projects they may have coming up. Make sure that because your intro email is so short, the follow-up emails, once you've started that conversation, are an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into the specifics of what it's like to work with you. That's where you could outline what your process is for booking a directed session, or what your revisions and retake policy is, or whatever. So try to keep that conversation going as long as possible. Obviously, there comes a point where that conversation does not need to continue anymore, at which point, for prospects. So, and just to clarify, for those of you that maybe aren't familiar with the lingo that I use, for prospects, a prospect is somebody that has expressed an interest in working with me, but hasn't hired me yet. Those people, I am looking for a way to try to stay top of mind with once a month as much as possible. That does not mean that I am emailing them once a month necessarily. That's where social media comes into play as well, and using social media as a tool for follow-up strategy and for keeping myself top of mind. Again, welcome to Free Advice Friday. If you do have a question that you would like to ask and get answered, type it into the comments. If you put a Q beside it, that just makes it a little bit easier for me to see, because there's obviously a lot of comments. We got 144 comments in the stream right now. So I'm trying to get as many of them as possible. If I've missed your question, I apologize. Don't be afraid to post it again, especially if you posted it without the Q, because I may have scrolled right past it. All right, let's see. Jane says, did you hear U.S. House proposes no AI fraud act to protect individuals' likenesses and voices? This does not surprise me. One of the things that Tim and Karn and I talked about in the podcast, and again, guys, seriously, if you haven't listened to this episode, it dropped yesterday. Go back and listen to this episode. Listen to this interview. It's available right here on the YouTube channel. It is also available wherever you enjoy podcasts. You can listen on Apple, Google, Spotify, all the places. It is available all the places. One of the things that we talked about was, because this is an election year, this is going to become, AI is going to be an even more hot topic than it probably would have been previously, because the fear of election fraud is very, very real. And so it wouldn't be surprising to us if legislation gets passed a lot quicker than we might be used to seeing it, because it's being prioritized in a different way, just because of the potential threat of election fraud involving AI voices, likenesses, images, video, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all to hear that they may be pushing that through, or attempting to push that through a little bit quicker. I see some of you talking about VO Atlanta in the chat. I want to just mention I am doing an X session on Friday at VO Atlanta. I haven't had a chance to check recently, but at the last check, there was 4 spots left for my X session. It's called From Search to Send. And for those of you that are curious about my workflow, This is going to be a highly interactive X session. Bring your computer, your laptop, your tablet, whatever. I am going to literally walk you through step by step the process of doing a search, finding a lead, turning that lead into an email address and an actual human contact. I'm going to show you the tools, the software, the services that I use to do all of those things. And then we're going to write an email to that lead. And I'm going to walk you through my process for writing a marketing email. You're going to be able to get real-time feedback on your email. So literally, highly interactive, step-by-step walkthrough of from the moment you do the search to find the lead until the moment you have contacted the lead. So this is going to be a really great session. So if you haven't signed up for that yet, if you're going to VO Atlanta and you want to see how this works, like I said, I think there was a couple of spots left. I'd love to have you in the X session. All right. Mark says, looking for a voice actor assistant. Can't remember the group that you've mentioned before and their contact info. Can you help? Well, of course I can help. What you are talking about is VA for VO. VA for VO is a brilliant service. It's been put together by some of my voice acting friends and colleagues. Bridget Reel, Lynn Norris, Miranda Ellis were the geniuses behind VA for VO. You can join in two different ways. One, as a voice actor looking to hire a virtual assistant, or two, as a virtual assistant looking to work with voice actors. So a lot of the VAs that are on here, the voiceover adjacent service providers, as they like to refer to them, are maybe newer voice actors who are starting out, who maybe don't have a sustainable income for voiceover yet, but they want to work in a related field to the industry while they work to build their business. And so they work with more veteran, experienced, full-time, higher earner voice actors, whatever. So if you are looking to outsource any aspect of your voiceover business whatsoever, from editing, lead generation, marketing, CRM management, social media management, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, VAforVO.com is the website. Absolutely worth checking out. So that is the service that you were thinking about there, Mark. All right, let's see. Susan says, whoa, an ad just interrupted. You're live on my end. I've never seen that before. Welcome to the world of Google and YouTube. Big business. Okay, let's see. Amy says, do you have any tips on where I can outsource a lead generator? Oh, well, there you go. Any websites or at least good questions to ask when hiring the right person. So, Amy, I know you signed up for Playbook. Get to the outsourcing module in Playbook. A lot of your questions will probably be answered there. So there is actually a module that is dedicated to some of that. And I talk specifically about hiring a lead generator. I share some specific tips for what you need to know, what you need to ask, what sort of things you should be looking for with hiring a lead generator. So make sure you get to that module in the Playbook. But yeah, VA for VO would be another option. And look, there are other options that are out there, by the way. When I was first hiring freelancers, VA for VO did not exist. And so I have hired people in the past off of Upwork. I have hired people in the past off of Freelancer. Both of those sites have worked very well for me. And so those are certainly some other options that you might want to look into. All right, let's see. The last cut on my demo is a jokey commercial for a phony product. Since we're told people won't listen to the end of most demos, I thought if they take the time, they might enjoy it. Your thoughts? I think it's probably fair to say that you're right. Most people don't listen all the way through a demo, but I also think that that's why something like VoiceSam is so valuable. I am such a big fan of the VoiceSam player. And I've had Bob on Free Advice Friday before. I've had Bob on the podcast. We've talked about VoiceSam. So if you've never looked into the player, go back and look for that interview that I did with Bob on Free Advice Friday. But I'm a big fan of the way that the player lays out. And let me just pull it up here. I'm going to pull it up on my website. And so you can play the commercial demo as a whole, but each individual spot is here as well. And so people might want to just scroll through and click individual spots. It's such a better way, a more efficient way to be able to listen to demos. Now, arguments have been made about should you label your demo with the spot name or should you label your demo with the type of read. I think my e-learning demo does that. Yeah. So on my on my e-learning demo, you can see casual conversational, formal instructional, right? So we've actually labeled some of the spots based on the type of read that they are. But that gives people the ability to just kind of scroll through and look for specifically what they want to listen to. So, joke spot at the end for a little bit of fun. Why not? It's like a little Easter egg surprise at the end of the demo, maybe. But if you had the demo listed on your website so that they could listen to individual spots as well, it might get a few more clicks on it. Something to think about. Thank you guys for watching. We're up to 76 watching on the live stream now, but still only 53 likes, which means there's still a few of you that need to hit that thumbs up icon. Hit that thumbs up icon for me, and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. When you subscribe, then you will never have to worry about missing an episode of Free Advice Friday. So make sure that you do that as well. Let's see, where are we going here? Angela says, to be more specific on my prospect question, I spoke with the prospect about 2 weeks ago. Do I follow up with them right away or wait longer? So if you've answered all of their questions that they had asked, then I would say, yeah, wait a couple more weeks. Like I said, I kind of stick to about a 30-day touch cycle. I try to stick to about a 30-day touch cycle. All right, let's see. What else is going on? Very excited about doing VO Atlanta. Some of you guys talking about it. I'm telling you, sign up for my X session. It's going to be worth it. Mark your script, damn it. Can I just tell you guys something? Look, I'm so excited. I haven't even had a chance to talk about this to anybody yet. Are you ready for this? This came today. I have been saving for this for like 6 months, and I finally got to the point where there was enough money in the bank to do it. Are you ready? Do you know what it is? Does anybody want to take a guess? What is in this ginormous box? You saw the Apple logo. What do you think? It just came today. I haven't even had a chance to take it out of the box yet. Oh, I'm so excited. Took me a long time to save up for that puppy, but it's finally here. I can't wait to set it up. So that might be what I'm doing this weekend. Mac Studio. Free Advice Friday is going to be so blazing fast next week because of how much more efficient my computer is. Okay, maybe that's not exactly how it works, but my editing time is going to be cut in half because of how much more faster that computer is. I'm working on a 2019 iMac. And so generally speaking, I replace my studio computer about every 4 years because that's what my capital depreciation or whatever they call it, the capital depreciation cycle, I can write a large expenditure like that off for 4 years. And so usually about every 4 years, I go out and replace a computer. So I'm 1 year behind. 1 year behind on my replacement cycle, but that's because I was saving for the Mac Studio, and they're so much more expensive than the iMac. But very excited to get that hooked up. But wait, there's more. I'm going to sell my old computer. I've got somebody that's interested in buying it, and I've got a couple of monitors because for those of you that aren't familiar with my setup, I have my iMac, and then I have two 22-inch monitors beside me. So I'm going to sell this setup. I got somebody that's interested in buying it already. And I'm getting a 49-inch ultra-wide monitor. I am going to be the king of efficiency and productivity. So for those of you that were asking me earlier about, time management and how do you get so much done and how do you plan out your day and all that, it's because I'm going to have a 49-inch monitor. I have 17 windows open at the same time. I'm going to be working on 26 different projects all at once. Probably not exactly how it's going to go, but yeah, very excited to get my new setup. So there you go. You guys were the first to know. You're the first. Look, breaking news on Free Advice Friday because, like I said, came this morning. Haven't even had time to take it out of the box yet. All right. What are recommendations for a company to help me with soundproofing a new space? Hey, Christopher, great question. Uncle Roy is right here in the live stream. So you could consult with him. That's who I consulted with when I was building my studio. And he gave me some suggestions for panel placement and all that sort of stuff. And so Uncle Roy would certainly be somebody to talk to. George Whittam would be somebody that you could talk to as well. George the Tech, Dan Friedman. is another respected name in that space. And so I would have a conversation with somebody like that first, and then they can kind of advise you based on your space, the microphone you're working with, et cetera, et cetera. They can make some suggestions about what to do for soundproofing, sound absorption, sound deflection, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, a lot of people will go and buy like Oralex and literally just like glue Oralex on the wall, floor to ceiling, like every possible square inch of the space is covered in Oralex. My booth, which is right here, which is a custom built, I built it. It's a 6x6-ish. It's got an angled wall on it, but 6x6-ish. I've got a couple of cloud panels above. I got a couple of acoustic panels in front of me. I've got one acoustic panel behind me in the booth, and then the floor is carpeted, and that's it. That's all I need. And my booth sounds great, and it was Uncle Roy approved, and it was Wovo approved, and I was good to go. So yeah, definitely a conversation you want to have before you start spending a whole ton of money on different strategies. If you don't have money for taking coaching classes, since they are expensive, let's be honest, how would you get better in your explainer and e-learning reads? I mean, I think the easiest thing would be listening to demos. Start with that. If you go to J. Michael Collins' website and click onto the demo section of J. Michael Collins' website, let's just do it. JMC voiceover.com. Here, let's bring this up. Pretty sure it's jmcvoiceover.com. Okay, so if you go to his demo production page, look at, these are all demos. Every one of these is demos. This guy's produced 5,726 demos. Okay, I just pulled that number out of my butt, but you get the point. There's a crap ton of demos on this page. And a lot of those demos have probably been nominated for awards, and a bunch of those have probably won awards. And so I would say just listening to demos so that you can hear what is trending in the reads in the different genres, just that in and of itself, if you didn't have a lot of money to spend, would be worth it. The other thing that I'm a big fan of, I get private coaching is expensive, right? I mean, a lot of the reputable voiceover coaches now are charging anywhere from $175 to $300 an hour, and it's really expensive, and I get it. Look at something like Gravy for the Brain, which is a piece of advice that I give to new voice actors all of the time. I can't tell you exactly what the going rate for Gravy for the Brain is now. Maybe it's $50 or $60 for the month. But if you get on Gravy for the Brain and sign up, let's just see. I'm gonna go to US because most of you guys are watching from the States. So US Gravy for the Brain. Continue to the US. Yes, please. Let's see. I don't know. We're finding out in real time. See the packages. Okay, let's see the packages. USA content only, $31.99 a month. Okay, so look, for $31.99 for a month, you could sign up for Gravy for the Brain, pay for it for 3 months. It would still be less than you would ever pay for a coaching session, but you're going to get access to so much content. Coaches, producers, experts, mentors, influencers, etc., in so many different genres, teaching in so many different genres, and there would definitely be an opportunity for you to learn a bunch of stuff. So even if you only sign up for a couple of months and, binge it like you would binge a Netflix show, I think there's a lot to be learned from that. And just to be clear, like, I'm not a Gravy for the Brain affiliate or anything. I'm just telling you, I think it's a reputable organization, and I think it's a way that you can make your dollar go further if you're trying to learn a bunch of stuff and you can't sign up for a whole bunch of individual classes. All right, let's see. What else? And I apologize if I'm missing questions. If you do have a question that you would like to ask, if you could just put a Q beside it, it makes it a little bit easier for me to see it in the chat. Moxie says, hey, Mark, last Friday you mentioned making every marketing mistake possible in your early days. How about a podcast about those mistakes that don't list with your examples? Geez, I wonder if I have ever done a podcast like that. Now I got to think about it. Generally speaking, I don't talk about all the dumb things that I've done because I'm just trying to get you guys to learn all the right ways to do it because of all the dumb things that I've done. I can tell you, though, one of the dumbest things that I did was my emails in the beginning were way too long. They were completely and totally focused on me and not the client and not what I could do for the client. My targeting was terrible, so I wasn't really putting a lot of effort into finding actual leads, actual individuals at companies. I was just blitzing out emails. My emails were very, very, very generic. I just created a template and sent it to everybody. And so that didn't really work so well, which is one of the reasons why I'm such a big fan of personalization. I wasn't always considerate of time zones because of the fact that I had a day job for a while. And sometimes I was working on stuff in the middle of the night because that's the only available time that I had. And I wasn't really thinking about not everybody remembers to put their phone into do not disturb. And so if you're a producer on the East Coast in the United States and some dingbat voice actor pings your inbox at 3:00 in the morning and you forgot to put your phone on do not disturb, do you think I'm getting on that guy's roster? I'm not getting on that guy's roster. It was a lot of little things like that were just dumb things that I just, you don't know what you don't know initially. I made the mistakes, learned from the mistakes eventually and got better, thankfully. Are there differences in commercial VO trends between the US and Canada? I don't think so. I'm not an expert in the commercial market, so maybe I shouldn't be the one to answer that question. But from what I have seen, I don't think so. I do commercial work, not a lot, but I do some commercial work in both Canada and in the US. A lot of the stuff seems pretty similar, so I don't think there's any big differences there. What else, guys? What do you want to talk about? What questions can I answer for you? Thanks, everybody, for watching. 81 of you on the live stream now, which means there's like 14 of you that still need to hit the thumbs up button. So hit the thumbs up button. I need to get an audio clip that I can push of a really crappy AI-generated voice that says, hit the like button, please. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Matt says, I tend to schedule emails on Gmail by clicking on schedule send only on mobile. Yeah, and that's something that I do now. It's just something that I was dumb and didn't do before. And that capability wasn't there, 10 years ago either. So that was part of it. But yeah, that's definitely one of the smart workarounds, right? If you've got a day job and you're working on your voiceover in the evening, right? You're hustling in the evening for a couple hours after you get home from work. 2 easy fixes. Write the emails and leave them in your draft folder and then send them the next day, maybe when you're at work and on a break or on your lunch or something like that. So you just pull them out of your draft folder, send them from there, or look to see whether or not the email provider that you're using gives you the ability to do scheduled send. Apple Mail does now, Gmail does now, Outlook does, right? So that's the other option is doing that scheduled send. And that is absolutely something that you should be doing. Will your X session be available for those not going to VO Atlanta? I don't know. I've never thought about teaching. I do teach an email workshop a few times throughout the year. So I will be teaching an introductory email workshop a few times throughout the year. And there will be one of those coming up in either February or March. I'm not sure. That's part of what I'll be teaching in the X session at VO Atlanta. Which is everybody's going to, in that introductory email workshop, I'm going to give you an opportunity to write an email. Actually, you're going to send me your email that you're using now. I'm going to give you real-time feedback on it. Then I'm going to teach you how to write a better email. And then you're going to get to write a second draft. And then I'm going to give you feedback on that. And then you'll have the option to send that to the lead. And you'll also have a template that you can use going forward. So that's my introductory email workshop. And I will be teaching one of those sometime in the first quarter. Since it is tax season, who can we go to help do our taxes in VO work? Do you recommend anyone? I think I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I'm not a tax professional. This is not tax advice. I do not think that you specifically need to have an accountant that is familiar with the voiceover industry as much as you need to have an accountant who is familiar with small business and the tax code and guidelines in your state, region, country. So my accountant is not a voiceover accountant, but he knows everything that I can write off as a small business owner. And so that's primarily what matters. And obviously we have to figure out some voiceover specific stuff every once in a while, but by and large, I'm a small business owner, right? At the end of the day, you're a small business, you're running a small business. So I would say looking for somebody in your state or region who is familiar with what you can and cannot write off in your state and region, and somebody who's familiar with small business. And, think about, for those of you that signed up for Voiceover Marketing Playbook, for a lot of you, that should be a tax write-off. For people who signed up for my mastermind this year, that should be a tax write-off. When I teach my Making Money with LinkedIn Masterclass and you sign up for my Making Money with LinkedIn Masterclass, which I will be doing in a month or two here, that should be a tax write-off. Buy a new microphone, should be a tax write-off. This is a tax write-off. The blue light on the floor back there, that is a tax write-off. It's part of my studio setup, right? So making sure that you've got somebody that just understands that side of things, what you can and can't write off. If you're going to VO Atlanta, you should be able to, again, not a tax professional, always consult with a tax professional who is familiar with your state, region, country, etc. But you should be able to write off your VO Atlanta admission, your X session. You could write off your travel, right? Your airfare, your hotel, meals while you were there, things of that nature, because you are going for work purposes. And so a really good accountant will pay for themselves multiple times over. That's my opinion and what they are able to save you. Are the titles for animation producers the same for, let's say, e-learning or other production companies, or are there specific ones for each VO genre? I do think that it can vary from genre to genre. So, in commercial, you might be looking for a producer, but you might also be looking for a creative director. In e-learning, you might be looking for an instructional designer, but you might also be looking for a project manager. In animation, same thing. You might be looking for somebody who's in production, but you might also be looking for somebody who's in casting or has casting in their title. So it can definitely vary from genre to genre. One of the things that I would encourage you to pay attention to when you are doing your direct marketing and you find what you think are really good leads, pay attention to the job titles. Because as you start to send your emails, obviously one of the metrics that I talk about tracking a lot is your response rate, right? If I'm sending marketing emails, am I hitting that 10 to 15% response rate as a minimum? The other thing that you can track is, are certain job titles performing better than other job titles? And paying attention to that data, because then that's going to give you more clues of what to look forward to or what to look for when you are moving forward in your marketing. Hey, Mark, how has having a YouTube channel positively impacted your business and in what ways? So my YouTube channel is primarily focused on the coaching side of my business. So it's for my podcast, which is for voice actors. It's for Free Advice Friday, which is for voice actors. So it has definitely had an impact on the coaching side because it's building my influence and my credibility with people so that when they're looking for a reputable coach, somebody to work with them on marketing, hopefully they think about me and, they go to VOpreneur.com and they buy a session or buy a class or something like that from me. So it's definitely had an impact on the coaching side, but that's because that's the audience that I'm more focused towards with the YouTube channel. That said, can you build a YouTube channel that has an impact on the voiceover side? 100% you can. I think it comes down to the audience that you are trying to reach and the type of content that you are trying to create. Christy says, my Nimble CRM email tracking somehow has disabled the schedule send option in my Gmail. Am I missing something? Super annoying not to be able to schedule emails without turning off tracking. Yes, that is a thing. If you are a Gmail user with Nimble, you have to choose. You can either track emails or you can schedule emails, but at this point, you cannot do those two things together. It is a bummer. If an agency responds that they don't have room for you on their roster, but apply again in 6 months, does that mean that they have interest or just a generic response? If they are telling me to apply again in 6 months, I am setting a reminder in my calendar, in my CRM, on my task list, in my planner, and I am reaching out again to them in 6 months. And when I reach out to them again in 6 months, hopefully I have more stuff to tell them. Right? Maybe I've landed another client, or maybe I've booked a couple of big jobs, or whatever. But yeah, if they're telling me specifically reach out again in 6 months, I'm going to do it. They might tell you to reach out again in 6 months just to see whether or not you can follow instructions, and you will do it. So I would absolutely do it. Amy says, do you plan on updating your Nimble course this year? There are some new features that are out there right now, and it's a little confusing. Please help. Yeah, I did just update a couple of videos in December. I added the workflows video, and I updated, I don't even remember. I updated a couple of the videos in December, but I will be updating a couple more. That's one of the challenges. Nimble's constantly making improvements, constantly changing the system, and so there's always something new going on. But yeah, I do have a couple more videos that I want to get updated, and that is on the to-do list. But yeah, there were a couple of videos that were updated in December. All right, let's see. What else? One more time, guys. Listen to this episode. Watch the video if you are on the YouTube channel already. As soon as Free Advice Friday is done, watch the video. Otherwise, download the podcast episode, please, and thank you. Subscribe wherever you enjoy podcasts. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean. It's everywhere. That interview with Tim and Karin was absolutely fantastic. And so I would really encourage you to check that interview out and listen to it. I think that it will answer a lot of questions that you have about AI and how it is going to impact voiceover, how it is already presently impacting voiceover. So check out that episode. And next week's episode is going to be fantastic as well. I'm having Bryson Carr on the show. Bryson is somebody that I first started coaching with in 2020. We did our first session together. He's a guy who went from part-time to full-time in voiceover, and he did it through leveraging a virtual assistant. And so I'm going to talk to him about his story and what it was like to make that transition, working with the virtual assistant to help him do that. It's a great interview, great episode. So that's the one that is going to be coming out next Thursday. So keep an eye out for that one. Nimble says they are adding the email scheduling and more this year. Praise Jesus and hallelujah. That would be so nice. It's like, to me, that feels like it should be one of the most basic functionalities of a CRM. And guys, I love Nimble. I've been using Nimble for so long now. Many years I've been using Nimble and proud to be a partner with Nimble. But that was the one thing that I was like, come on, you got to give me this, guys. Please give me this. So I'm so glad to hear that that is coming. If you are looking for a CRM, if you would like to test drive a CRM, here you go. Go to nimble.com/Marc Scott VO. Nimble.com/Marc Scott VO. You can sign up for an extended trial of Nimble at that link, nimble.com/Marc Scott VO. If you're going to do direct marketing, you are going to want to have a CRM sooner than later. And so I would encourage you, if you are not playing around with a CRM yet, if it's a tool that you have not yet added into your toolbox, check that out. Give it a shot. I think that you will enjoy it. All right, I got time for one more question, and then I got a session at 2:15 I got to get ready for. So I'll do one more question, and then I got to jump out. So let's see. Here we go. I know you mentioned this before. What platform do you use for your podcasting and interviewing guests? I use Podbean to host my podcast, and I use Riverside.fm to record my podcast. And I actually did an interview, I did a podcast episode about the tools that I am using for my podcast. Let me see if I can find that episode. The tools I use for podcasting and live streaming. There it is. All right, I'm going to put this in the chat. The tools I use for podcasting and live streaming. Check out that episode. And I walk through, and I've got links to everything in the show notes as well. So there are a bunch of different things that I'm using, a bunch of different tools that I use for that. So check that out. But yeah, big fan of Riverside. I've been pretty happy with it. Great tool for recording audio and video, giving me stuff in split track, and they're constantly improving the service as well, which is fantastic. So, all right, guys, I got to jump out so I can get ready for a session, but thank you for joining me for Free Advice Friday. Again, I'm always happy to spend time with you, always happy to answer your questions. I do have Free Advice Friday on the calendar for next week, so provided everything goes well, we should be back again next Friday and ready to do it all over again. For those of you that maybe jumped in late, you will be able to go back and watch the entire replay as soon as I stop this. And I will get chapter markers at it as well, which will link to some of the specific questions that were asked and answered. So that'll make it a little bit easier to navigate. But as always, thanks for giving me a little bit of your time and spending some time with me on a Friday afternoon. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for hitting the subscribe button. And thank you for listening to, downloading, and subscribing to the Everyday VOpreneur podcast. I certainly appreciate that as well. Whatever you decide to do this weekend, have fun, stay safe, and you know what to do. Go find some leads.